My name is Nathan Wilson, and welcome to an amazing interview, if I'm being quite frank, with the illustrious Todd the Band, Todd the Brand. Colin, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great because I'm talking with you. Colin recently, back in April, released a debut album called Ocean Levels, which honestly differs from the rest of your content, where you're a bit more comedy focused. And even with the release of Dark Side of Adult a little bit after your biggest video from the Jack's Film submission, Meet the Personalities. And I honestly think that was a great idea to put out a banger of a song, if I'm being frank, right after your biggest release to get some traction on it, because that was just a great song. I'm just going to get the generic, obvious question out of the way. What musically inspired you to make Ocean Levels? What are your inspirations?
Sure. To make Ocean Levels, it was just it was like I had been doing that since I started making music in general. There are songs in there from like April 2020, from when I like actually started to like try writing songs in my own free time. And so it was just the shape that it took. When I was writing those songs, it's not me thinking about like I want to make this like this and try this style. It's more, it's just kind of like the influences present themselves whether I like it or not. And the ones that I see are like, I love the Mountain Goats a whole lot. Everybody knows that. I love They Might Be Giants a whole lot. There's a children's musician, Justin Roberts, who I used to listen to as a kid, and nobody knows who that is. But if they were to see, they would see like, oh yeah, that's totally got a hold on Colin's subconscious. The Long Winters, a band from Seattle, is one of my favorites, and certainly inspires me lyrically in terms of like it was John Roderick's like style of lyricism to be very impressionistic and like tell a story emotionally, but not really let you know on what's going on a direct prose level, where you can tell the story but sort of get the idea, which I just think is like a very powerful thing that music does, and it's what I like to do.
That what you just said actually builds into the next question. You have a tremendous ability, in my opinion, of using playful vocabulary in your songs from time to time, with more than surface level intentions. And sometimes it can be misinterpreted, like as you spoke in the Woodland video about how a lot of people thought that Dark Side of Adult was funny because you said waddle around like a duck. But it's that childlike whimsy that you put into the song that really animated it and focused on the transition of adolescent to adult and that intermittent period of growing up and trying to adjust to it. Is there an intention of using a false sense of that childlike whimsy for songs with deeper topics? And how is that built into your writing process?
I like using unique words in my everyday business also. And so I think that part of it has to just be that. I just talk and I like to kind of play around with the words I use. And that has to be part of it. For that particular song, yeah, I think it really was me trying to be like as innocent as possible when I sung about this. Couldn't really psychoanalyze myself and tell you why, but I think that's common with a lot of people. I don't know why I do the things I do, but I can tell you that I probably was. And then beyond that, I think I do. I might just be a little bit more of a kid still than most people.
A little bit of a personal note. I'm 21 and I still don't feel 21. I still kind of feel like I'm like on the verge. I still feel like 18 in a sense.
Yeah, I'm 20. We're like the same age. But I was just thinking like yesterday lying awake being like, man, I'm a junior in college now and I feel like a absolute baby. I don't know. That's always been a primary problem in my life.
One thing that I think goes unnoticed is your unique film style from song to song in your music videos. I was especially entertained by the music videos on California Brown and Heart Rate. They're so wonderfully eclectic. Is there a process or mindset you go through while writing the blueprint of what you want to illustrate in your music videos, or do you just sort of go with the flow?
I do really like to switch it up a lot. I think maybe too much because it ends up like I don't have a style consistent throughout any of my videos. I have a suspicion that like someday I'll find a thing that I'll just want to do and like dive deeper into that thing. A Jack Stauber or a Bill Wirtz really just dives into their own style. I haven't found that yet, but it's okay with me. And it just comes from like having ideas and writing them down. That's all it is. With Heart Rate, it was like, um, what if I wrote all of my ideas down and then put all of them into one, where it just like switches stylistically every time we switch into a chorus or go back into a verse.
The rotoscoping was a great touch.
Oh, thank you. I mean, yeah, that stuff is awesome, and I want to do more of that animation. That one, it was kind of like I came up with it like in a manic state, like, and because I just like I don't know, I had one of the ideas, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna build this out, and I invited my friend Paige over to do it like the next night, and it was like all like so I did it so quickly, and I was like so invested in it, that it sort of feels like a dream at this point, but yeah, that one was like really fun, and I would like to do more of that stuff where we're switching between a real thing and then a frame within a frame.
You've been dabbling with 3D software from time to time in your music videos as well. I think you've made great progress since your Scarecrow from Meet the Personalities. Is there a goal you want to reach through that medium of art, or do you just like to dabble with different art forms in general?
It's what I've been spending the most time on recently is like I've been learning Blender since lockdown, and it's amazing. I'm still so bad at it. Like it's crazy that I can be bad at something for so long. But I mean I'm kind of familiar with that. But the end goal, and I feel like I'm maybe getting close, is to be able to make short films or music videos or just any sort of like 3D thing synthetically quickly, and that looks fine enough. That's the end goal because of like the pyramid of like making things quickly, cheaply, and shoot, what do you think it is? Like easily? There's just I just really want to find a way to make things myself that doesn't take a long time and that is good. That's like my North Star, and I think 3D is a great way to get there. And I'm feeling like I'm close-ish. If I can get a couple things more down, then I can there, and I can really just explode onto the scene.
The first question I want to ask specifically about Ocean Levels is the small bits of post-production and samples you use in songs like Foreign Object and California Brown. They're a bit jarring at first listen, more specifically the ending to Foreign Object. What drew you to add those into the song?
Yeah. Dude, I have no idea where that came from. Like where I wanted to do that, but it's like the only thing that I do that isn't that isn't just like rock instrumentation is just like these samples. It's always, I'll tell you, it's a guy named Matthew Silver who is a comedian and performance artist. His like sort of deal is that he is the like town idiot, like in his underwear with a huge scraggly beard yelling about no one knows. Like he is that. He goes out into New York City and he just like yells about like life, we have to love each other. And it's such a like I've just gotten really into it because it's he finds a way to like express how we should all be feeling all the time, which is like, holy shit, we're here, we're like alive, let's like do everything that we want to do. He goes out there and he like expresses it, and it's like funny but also real. And yeah, I don't know, it just brings some energy. I like it. I just like distort the voice a little bit and I make it all rhythmic. It's nice.
Speaking of California Brown, I'm actually currently living in Pennsylvania. I was raised in Pennsylvania, but I sadly lack the blonde hair your song requires. What stood out to me more from that song is that it's the only track you swear. The only one in the entire album, and it's out of nowhere as well, which in its own way is jarring. Was there an allure to say the fuck word?
Yeah, I mean I mean you have to agree with me, one of the best words. And when we're talking about like when we're talking about like powerful words, and that was what I was doing when I was writing that song. I had in the back of my head, I was thinking like, man, California is such a like whimsical musical word. Pennsylvania, I feel the same way. Like it just feels like song, and it just brings such a punch. And to be like, fuck, ah, shit. I don't know. It's funny. I'm just trying to make myself laugh. It's all right.
I can tell you from experience, Pennsylvania is not a musical place. It's like 80% just farmland. and 10% Ben Franklin, and then the 10%'s like whatever else.
Ben Franklin, and I mean, you guys have the people in hats with buckles on them, right?
The Pilgrims?
I was thinking about the Amish, but maybe
the Amish. Yes, we have the Amish. We do have the Amish.
You're definitely right. I'm obsessed with the buckle on the hat. That's awesome. You never see that.
What was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of buckling your hat? I hope it doesn't fly anywhere.
Well, they didn't have snapbacks back then. They should adapt the snapback.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the Pharrell hat, right? That sort of like Arby's looking hat almost. I think that's the modern take on it.
You're right. It is. I mean, it's far too tall. I know your head doesn't go all the way up there. It feels like a lie.
It has its own circulation. It's almost like the 13th century gas mask, the little crow for breathing. Yeah.
It's like having an apartment with high ceilings.
Yes. One of the songs I respect the most from your album is I've Got Nothing, because you're very forward in your intentions and honesty of what you identify as a lack of issues. One thing that has stopped me from picking up an instrument is the idea that I want to make music that is meaningful and has emotion, but I don't think I'm in the position to write about my trauma when others have had it worse. How has that viewpoint affected your writing process, and do you think there are workarounds for people who think they have it good yet want to write emotionally connecting music?
No, I think no one should be afraid to write music because they feel like they're not worthy of expressing woe. Because woe, everyone feels woe, and your woe fits the size of your container. So, like, I don't know. It would just be wrong for other people to say that you can't express yourself through song because they've had it worse. I just don't think that would happen. No, I think you should feel free to sing about whatever you want, and if it's sad, then that's okay, because you feel sad, and that's valid.
I think I'm more fearful of drifting into Fred Durst territory, where my mom didn't pack my sandwich in my bag. I've had it, man. She's a hag.
Yeah. No, there's certainly a worry about being melodramatic. But I think that can be an issue of trying to get better at songwriting rather than not doing it at all.
It's more so like writing music to have feeling rather than to make bank. Yeah, putting meaning behind the song.
Yeah, I mean, big proponent of that, of making music to express and to put into words.
On a lighter note, is there a reason why you added the wow 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 to I've Got Nothing? It's like the Homer scream from Big Cheese, one of the tracks off of Nirvana's debut album Bleach.
And I can't tell you much. I think I wrote that part like maybe 8 months after I wrote the first two, like verse chorus, and I ended it, and then I was like, I'm gonna extend it, and I didn't want to write any more words. That's all I got.
For a live performance, maybe you should incorporate like a talk box for that.
Oh, that would be cool. So I think I did it live for like an open mic thing that was part of at my school during the last part of the semester. I played that song, and I did that scatting part, and people clapped. People liked it, so I might just keep it that way.
Is there a story behind the creation of the lyrics for Let's Go Hunting?
That's a great one to ask that for. Because it's an easy way for me to just say, like, that was one of the first songs I ever wrote. Oh, Chowie's coming into my room. Completely true. We can discuss that later. The song was one of the first I ever wrote. And in my infancy there, I decided to draw heavily from a movie that I really love. There's a movie called The Comedy, by Rick Alverson, one of my favorite directors. This movie is maybe my favorite movie, but I won't recommend it to anybody because it's like it just won't be a good time. Nobody that I've shown it to has thought it was any good at all. And it's like one of those things that I would need a good platform to speak about for a long time and like to go through my thoughts about, because it is a total slog, of meaninglessness. And like, I mean, it's just like one of those movies where like there's a shot of the guy, like of the main guy, like eating an Oreo for like a minute, like it's like very slow, not a lot to really chew on. Lyrics were heavily inspired by that. It's about an aging hipster played by, okay, so he's played by Tim Heidecker. Do you know Tim Heidecker?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, aging hipster in Williamsburg who just sort of wanders around, gets into trouble, and like just sort of like makes jokes the whole time, like Tim Heidecker, but with like this just bitterness and like just completely removed of all humanity. He's like a monster, but like you just see yourself in him in the worst way. It was very much like watching that for me was like I was terrified that that was what adulthood was going to be like. I used that and hunting as a metaphor for like I was embodying someone that I would hate.
My guess for the song, because for some, I couldn't find I know you put the lyrics in Spotify and Apple Music. I couldn't for the life of me find it. But like the many times I'd listened to it was just like a personification of that sort of toxic masculinity, of just like the idea of like trophies in hunting and almost the hive mindset of let's go hunting, we'll all do it together, and then in this togetherness we're going to shoot innocent animals. Another short question: out of all the things you would offer someone with a large hat, why would you choose a penguin as a small object to give them?
Oh. Here's what's interesting about that. And I just complimented you on your ability to read in the lyrics, the last one, so don't feel offended. But
Sure.
when I'm giving somebody a small thing, like a penguin gives another penguin a rock as a sort of gesture of courtship.
Oh, okay.
So that's what penguins do when they want to mate, is like, here's this rock I found. And what I'm doing there is giving somebody a small thing like a penguin. But I'm glad you asked that question because it means that like somebody else has probably made that mistake.
Well, I mean,
And it means I made that mistake.
yeah. Well, I mean, when you have the waddle argument, and I mean,
Right.
just like
That was just like part of my character design.
right.
And, yeah.
So I was just very thrown off, and I'm like, out of all the things, out of all the small things, all the you get that. It's just why penguins. So now I understand, because I'm like, you could have given him like a thumbtack. I don't know. One thing that sticks out most to me in albums is like a tonal shift in the track list, like Stone Temple Pilots' Creep in their debut album Core, or Slipknot's Snuff in their album All Hope Is Gone. For Ocean Levels, you have two songs, in my opinion, that flow differently from the rest: Lied to and Tinted Brown, which is grown to be my favorite song on the album. While your album isn't nearly as silly as Shack or In the Darkness, were there inspirations to lead those songs in that direction of solemnness?
Lied to and Tinted Brown are definitely they're the slower, more introspective, thoughtful ones. I think then the answer would be that I think I probably always just thought that this album shouldn't be as funny as the other stuff. I just wanted to make it a more real project that had themes and whatnot. I remember thinking that I was gonna do two, that I was gonna have a funny one and a not funny one. But I think the funny one just ended up being I put out some singles like Shack and Meet the Personalities. The stuff that had themes and voltage to it. I wanted to put all in one thing.
just want to quickly mention it's a small yet genius line that I dream of a day with a proper noun. It's small, but I just really appreciate it. I was just like, yeah, that really fits.
I realized that I've used that twice. I used it in Shaq too.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's me just right now realizing that because I used that in that song, but then I also there's a line in Shaq where I go, embrace your life as a proper noun. It's a less thematic way, but I don't know, I like that linguistic term.
I mean, I think Shaq itself is its own proper noun. So I think it's a different realm than she, her, he, him, Shaq.
The pronoun, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, he's a pro player, so.
He's a pronoun.
Dark Side of Adult is still a phenomenal song I hold as one of your best pieces of music. Did you ever think it would get the attention or resonate with the amount of people it did?
When I made it, I had not made Meet the Personalities yet. It was like I made it before, and then Meet the Personalities was all in 48 hours, and then it came after. And so at that point, I had no momentum. I was like, doing things for they get 200 views from my friends. So of course I didn't expect much out of it. And it's a very low. It has a very low amount of views compared to any professional artist. So it's like I just like that people like it. That's great. And it's a great one for people to like, and rather than one that I don't like. But I like that one a lot. So it's great that people like it.
What led to the creation of the album name along with the fantastic cover art of the album? What made you want to use the name Ocean Levels?
I just had found that the songs I was writing were I just kept using the ocean as a metaphor for adulthood. After I found that it cropped up a few times, I decided to lean into it, and so then the name came out of that. The art from the cover was done by my very talented cousin Emily. She's an artist. She goes to school up in Oregon, and she just totally stunned on everyone with that cover. It's an amazing.
It is. It's really nice.
It is awesome.
You're obviously still invested in the channel, Todd the brand, and I doubt you'll stop making things, whether it be music or skits. But do you think you'll keep making music for future albums in the serious tone as you have with Ocean Levels? Or was Ocean Levels just a one-off?
Yes, I will. I will continue to make. It's just how I prefer to write them. The funny songs don't come as easily because, like, I don't know. There's a certain like music is a very powerful emotional thing, and to start from a place of like making it funny, it just often falls flat. Even with a lot of the funny songs that I've written, they don't like they come from a different place, not where I'm trying to like supply a joke, but from me being like, I really love watching videos of Shaq, and I really do think he's an amazing thing that we should appreciate while we have. If I were to start a song thinking like, all right, let's try to make it funny, it often falls flat for me.
Probably the most important question. Will there be any physical releases of Ocean Levels? Because as I told you off camera, I'm a big CD person. So if I could get this physically, I'm gonna gobble it up. Hearing
that is it makes me want to do it. I really had no plans to, but I need to find a way to do that. I'll look into it because I mean that's important to me now. Like the people who listen to CDs and the people who listen to cassettes. That's I don't know. I really like that. So I'll look into it.
So this is my final question. What do you think is the key to making music that connects with the painful nostalgia of childhood, the blissful ignorance of youth, and the struggles of growing up?
Could I ask you, like, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think about, like, what makes a song about growing up good? Or, like, what makes any sort of art about growing up or adolescence powerful to you?
I mean, for me personally, it's... You don't really realize the freedom you have and the leverage you do until you grow up. You don't know how much time you had to play video games, to hang out with friends, to do fuck all, until like you grow to have responsibility and to be tasked with working a job and trying to find a way to get groceries on the table, pay bills, adult to adult. So that adolescence you don't really appreciate until you're past it most of the time, or at least until the very late stages of teendom, because you're just living through the moment at that point. And sure, you may do stupid things. All kids do stupid things when they're kids, but it's that leniency of acceptance. It's okay to make mistakes versus when you're an adult, you're more aware, more anxious to mess up in any avenue, because it's like, okay, what can this lead into? How will this affect my career? How will this affect my friendships? How will this da 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 da?
I think that's, yeah, you're touching on like you gotta be like nuanced about it. What I'm thinking is like, yeah, a piece of art that doesn't recognize the freedom that you get from growing up, or um doesn't recognize what you've lost by growing up, would feel hollow to me. So it's like, I don't know. I think it would take just like good, honest introspection to see, um, what you've lost, to see what you've gained, to understand why it's happened. Um, Paying attention is probably the most important thing then. Paying close attention to what is going on.
Thank you so much for your time, Colin. Ocean Levels is out on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp. They'll be down in the description below. Please make sure to check out Colin's channel, Todd the Brand, if you haven't already. Colin, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciated this interview.
Thank you, Nathan. This has been really lovely. I mean, thank you for thinking of me, and you were so nice, and you made me feel very comfortable. Thank you a lot.
All right. Thanks. Take care, everybody.